begin the first technical talk of the day, and we have with us Mr. KP Jayaprakash from DRDO, who will enlighten us about the history, role, and contribution of DRDO. Sir, I request you to take the seat on stage. Dear all, it is my honor to introduce Mr. KP Jayaprakash before he takes us on a tour of the milestones of the defense research in our country. Mr. KP Jayaprakash is a scientist in the Center for Airborne Systems Laboratory in the Defense Research and Development Organization, and he received his BTech in ECE from BMS College of Engineering, Bengaluru in the year 2004. Later, he obtained his master's degree from IIT Kanpur, that's an MTech degree from IIT Kanpur in the year 2015, and he's been working in the Center for Airborne System at DRDO since 2004 after his BE. Today he's working and he is serving as the Scientist F in the same defense laboratory. He's a recipient of the National Science Day Award in the year 2011. Along with DRDO's Young Scientist Award, which he won in the year 2012, he also won the Technology Group Award for 2 consecutive years, that's 2017 and 18, followed by the National Technology Day Award in 2021. Mr. Jayaprakash is a member of the ISR or the ISTAR, which is Intelligence Surveillance Target and Reconnaissance Core Team in his laboratory, and his areas of interest include multi-sensor data fusion, test rigs for airborne surveillance system, radar system analysis, and systems engineering. He had previously worked in the area of multi-sensor data fusion and AEW&C, that is Airborne Early Warning and Control System, which is basically a workstation that he worked on there, and data acquisition system for electrical rig for aircraft system. He has also worked on radar system design for AWACS and has an experience of over 17 years in the area of airborne surveillance system. Mr. Jayaprakash is the recipient of the DRDO Young Scientist Award for his significant contribution in the area of multi-sensor. So let us all sit tight and rejoice the journey of Indian defense research and the contributions of various scientists in this field. Over to you, sir.
The dignitaries of the dais, the teachers, and then my dear students. It's a privilege to be with you on the occasion of Amrit Mahotsav celebration, and then share some of the glimpses of the work carried out in DRDO, and then in the pretext of history, role, and contribution of DRDO. I was told the theme for the day, I think they have theme for every day. The theme for the day is History of Science. Generally, when the students like from science background as well as from engineering background, when you think about science, you will try to decompose things into physics, chemistry, biology, and then in physics, you will try to classify into classical physics as well as modern physics, and then biology, geology, and whatever. You try to decompose things and try to understand, okay, which science is going to get covered. As you see, today we have defense as one of the science topic and space as another science topic. So before I start my presentation, to meet the theme, I would like to tell you that in your academics or in your student world, what we try to do is, they will try to teach you by decomposing things and try to understand the subject. That's how we analytically understand things. You divide things and then understand. Okay, but once you go to the industry, we just do, in addition to that, we do the opposite. We recompose things. It means we combine things, assimilate all together, and have a bird's eye view. So what I'm telling is, at the end of the talk, the takeaway to you is, in addition to your academic thinking, the industry thinking or entrepreneurial thinking of recomposing, decompose and recompose, is what will be the takeaway for you, which we do in the industry. So to assimilate the content, keep in mind that we are trying to do a two-way process here. One is decompose the things and then recompose it. Both are required. Only one is only half done. Okay, with that target in mind, I will just go to my presentation. I have structured my presentation into following subheadings. I come from a lab called Center for Airborne Systems, which I am going to give a brief to you. And then I will cover on the historical perspective of DRDO, the evolution of DRDO, the DRDO in its today's form, what is the structure of DRDO, the location of labs, the DRDO Young Scientist Lab formation by the DRDO organization, the partners and linkages, the areas of work, the nuclear, biological and chemical, I can use that. Okay. Nuclear, biological and chemical warfare, the critical test infrastructure of DRDO, and then conclusion. This is how I structured my talk. Let's start with our Center for Airborne System. CAPS, we call it Center for Airborne System, was established in 1991. Very, very young lab. Even though DRDO was established in 1958, the need for airborne surveillance system was felt in 1991, and then this lab was established. And then the mandate of the lab is to design and develop airborne surveillance system. Like you have a patrolling vehicle which will thank you. By police, which will patrol and do a surveillance of whoever is on the road or have a watch on our airspace. We require an aircraft with advanced sensors which can do a surveillance of the area of coverage and then get to know the information about our adversary. So this is the basic scope of airborne surveillance system. Under airborne surveillance, we have three major areas. The one is air to air, air to sea, and air to ground, meaning the mandate of Center for Airborne System is to develop system which can guard our air, the skies, the land, as well as the sea. So for all three, we have three different systems which are air to air to sea, and air to ground. So I will just show a video which is about our lab. Have a look at it, and then we can go on with the presentation. This is about our Center for Airborne System. Volume, you can. Volume is not coming. See, what we have done is we have tried to compress the whole scope of Center for Airborne System. There is one lab of DRDO, and in a 5-minute video, in an interesting way, we are trying to project the work that is being carried out. This lab is in Bangalore, okay, near to HAL airport.
It's a powerful deterrent. A surveillance system with an eye to see deep inside the enemy's nation, ears to interpret their communication, and a mind to unravel their intention, acts as the most effective tool in fueling this deterrence. And the organization that's designing, developing, and deploying these powerful surveillance systems is DRDO's Center for Airborne Surveillance. The airborne surveillance system is one of the critical elements of any Indian services or Indian defense. CAPS was established as Center for Airborne Systems in 1991. Initially, the aim of the CAPS was to develop airborne early warning and control system. Now we have matured to go for airborne surveillance system. So airborne surveillance in any country makes it much more stronger and helps these forces to be ready and prepared for the threat which is coming much earlier. The Indian Air Force provided the first mandate for CAPS to build an indigenous Hydra aircraft. If we look from the point of world, there are not many countries who have developed this indigenous Hydra. So that
Hey, you can increase. Yeah.
the challenge that is involved in developing.
No, now it's coming on the projector.
Yeah, projector.
No, that not be.
Developed in-house makes it a potent force multiplier for our services. The AEWNC is a system of systems made up of a suite of several sensors, communications, and computing systems. The active antenna unit, AAAU, is a critical component of the AEWNC system. It houses a primary radar made up of AESA and AESA radar units. Complementing this primary radar system is the Identification Friend, or IFF system. The command and input suites enable detection and characterization of communications and radar emitters around. All these subsystems are integrated with the onboard mission computer.
The mission computer is the heart of the indigenous airborne early warning and control program, and this is a one-way system which integrates and interfaces with all the sensors on board and the subsystems on board. The data handling and display system consists of 5 operator workstations, and the OWS is the front face of
system with an eye to see deep inside the enemy's nation, ears to interpret their communication, and a mind to unravel their intention, acts as the most effective tool in fueling this deterrence. And the organization that's designing, developing, and deploying these powerful surveillance systems is DRDO's Center for Airborne Surveillance.
The airborne surveillance system is one of the critical elements of any Indian services or Indian defense. CAPS was established as Center for Airborne Systems in 1991. Initially, the aim of the CAPS was to develop airborne early warning and control system. Now we have matured to go for airborne surveillance system. So airborne surveillance in any country makes it much more stronger and helps these forces to be ready and prepared for the threat which is coming much earlier.
The Indian Air Force provided the first mandate for CAPS to build an indigenous Netra aircraft.
So you look from the point of world, there are not many countries who have developed this indigenous AWC system. So that itself shows the challenge that is involved in developing such systems. And the effectiveness of this in the battlefield is enormous. It was first used during the Gulf War by Americans, and recently with Indians in Balakot strike, it has proved its prowess. So from that point of it, having an indigenous system where many of the tactics and software are developed in-house makes it a potent force multiplier for our services.
The AEW&C is a system of systems made up of a suite of several sensors, communications, and computing systems. The Active Antenna Array Unit, AAAU, is a critical component of the AEW&C system. It houses a primary radar made up of ASA and PESA radar units. Complementing this primary radar system is the Identification Friend or Foe IFF system. The Command and Element suites enable detection and characterization of communications and radar emitters around. All these subsystems are integrated with the onboard mission computer.
The mission computer is the heart of the indigenous airborne early warning and control program, and this is the only system which integrates and interfaces with all the sensors on board and the subsystems on board.
The data handling and display system consists of 5 operator workstations, and the OWS is the front face of AWC system, as the operators of AWC interact with the mission systems on board through the OWS system. This system basically provides integrated air situation picture display to the operators.
Building a foolproof indigenous system requires a robust process. Everything starts from designing and development of various electronic components like the primary radar, IFF, and other communication and intelligence links. The critical sensors are housed in a specially designed Active Antenna Array Unit or AAAU. Various subsystems including the AAAU are tested rigorously under various environmental conditions to mimic the harsh airborne conditions. All the subsystems finally come together in the system test and integration rig. This facility is equipped with simulators and stimulators for checking the system for mechanical, electrical, digital, RF, and software integration, and provides an integrated environment for the tandem working of the system under the constraints of being airborne. After successful tests under various simulations, the subsystems will be cleared for integration with the platform.
Mission systems developed and tested in what we call a stud facility need to be integrated, either both external antennas or AAAU, and also we have many internal installations. The criticality comes from the point of view of the structural integrity and the flight safety. For this operations, aircraft group in CAPS is responsible. We go through quality assurance like DGQA, and also we go through the process of certification. After they clear only, we continue with our flight testing.
Years of hard work and perseverance of hundreds of CAP scientists came together in that first takeoff.
The day I remember was February 2013, and that was the first day our AWNC flew with all our indigenous systems installed. That is when you started seeing the baby as it came up and as it crawled and as it flew.
The real value of AEWNC was realized when the forces started using the platform in actual missions to successfully defend the nation.
AWNC is a capability enhancer which can change the complete spectrum of warfare and exponentially increase the combat potential of every other weapon system. These systems are being judiciously exploited by Indian Air Force for battle management, electronic strategic and tactical intelligence, communication intelligence, airspace management involving border surveillances, combat search and rescue, offensive transport operations, counter-air operations, and air defense operations.
Once delivered, a crew of nearly 100 personnel from the Air Force were trained in CABs to handle the complex subsystems. Ensuring high availability of such mission-critical systems post-delivery was another challenge CABs had to handle successfully.
Through AWN system, we have inducted into the Indian Air Force. Now, during the last course of delivery, Indian Air Force has requested that this is being a complex integrated system, we need a support from DRDO to 3 to 5 years initially to start with, and we need to make sure that downtime should be very less. For this purpose, there was a product support was introduced by DRDO.
The AWNC system is a system of systems. Each system that has been developed can be dovetailed to be put on any other system. So AWNC platform has proved that way as a mother where many things can be done on other platforms.
While the complete India is currently looking at Atmanirbhar Bharat, I would like to proudly say that from CABs we have already achieved the Atmanirbhar Bharat as far as airborne surveillance is concerned. And in coming years, the CABs will need to work on it to move to a leadership position in globe, where India should become global leader in the airborne surveillance system.
The fear of being watched is a powerful deterrence. A surveillance system with an eye.
Yeah, that was about the lab where I work for, that Center for Airborne Systems. This is one of the lab out of 42 labs which are there in DRDO. I have around 3 videos of whatever achievements we have done in past 30 years. Similarly, each lab will have such kind of contribution or the work which has been carried out. This is just one of 42 labs of work what has been shown here. Okay, that's the amount of work that DRDO has been carrying out. Now, I would like to touch upon the historical perspective of DRDO. Let's try to be interactive, otherwise it becomes monotonous. Why do you think DRDO is required after all? There's something over there, but why do you think DRDO, organization called DRDO, Defense Research Development Organization, is required for the country? It was established in 1958, okay, 60 plus years back. And there are some answers here. So, what do you think that such organization, we require space research organization for what we can launch our satellites in the sky, in the space, and then you have a lot of communications, television advantages. Similarly, why at all we require a DRDO? Anything you can just try to think? Or they can't, without the mic also you can tell, just to make it interactive and then whatever I want to tell you. For defense, the name suggests, any wild guess like that. Basically, for defense of the country, we require Defense Research Development Organization, right? But why we have Army, Navy, Air Force? They are required for the defense of the country, right? yeah, some answers there. You can just think, it's a very, not a complicated topic. Why do you think an organization like DRDO is required for the country?
For the betterment of the Indian defense system.
Correct. For the betterment of, yeah, exactly. It will definitely add value and improve the scope. But we have Army, Navy, Air Force, right? We have Army officers, Navy officers.
As a support to them.
Yeah, as a support. What kind of support? Yeah, as a support to them. It can be any kind of support, right?
Yes.
Scientific support.
Scientific support.
Scientific support. Because that's the thing. Actually, one of the mandate of the DRDO in the initial days was when the country was established, and then we got independence, and then the constitution came into effect, and then we have to defend our country from the adversaries. We have to defend our country. So what generally we all do, we set up Army, Navy and Air Force, because we need to defend from the whatever airspace we have, whatever land and whatever sky, land and then water. So for that alone, human beings cannot defend the country, right? We require systems, we require weapons, we require platforms, we require sensors. Then only he will be an advanced soldier, right? We require all of this. So that was envisaged in the year 1958. And then who is going to guide the armed forces, Army, Navy and Air Force? In which system we need? Do we need night vision goggles so that in the night you can fight? Do we need aircraft so that you can go and then fly and put bombs and come out? Do you require missiles so that from wherever you are you will launch and then attack? Do you require guns? Oh, we require soldiers to defend the country, and we require weapons, platforms, sensors, systems. You need to equip him with all kind of sophisticated stuff so that he can effectively do the job. So they alone, the armed forces alone cannot do. We require an agency which can support them, as you rightly said. We require an agency which will support them. Politicians cannot support them directly, right? So we require a scientific community, scientific organization which will guide the armed forces. Okay? With that intention in mind, the DRDO was established as an inspection agency for the weapons which we are going to import from the foreign countries in the beginning, in 1958. What DRDO will do? It is going to inspect and guide the armed forces. Okay, this weapon is coming, scientifically it's going to be useful. What is the range of that? What is the power of that? What is the value? What is the weight? How to use it? How long it comes? What is the maintainability? What is the quality? That kind of act, DRDO started with helping as a support system to armed forces, right? As an evolution, you are a kind of support system for the armed forces. Next is, suppose armed forces come back to you and then say, hey, for my Indian conditions, I require so-and-so systems. Can you think about how to visualize that? For safeguarding Indian province, I require this kind of system. If they come out with the requirement, slowly we started with the research on meeting that requirement. So you require a research wing now. One is inspection wing, then a research wing, which will do a research on the requirement of the armed forces. What you need, you require, suppose you are there in a harsh environment in Siachen. It's very cold over there, and then you require some gadgets where the cold will get reduced. Okay, and then you require the food which will stay for longer time, for 15 days, 20 days. So the requirements come from the armed forces, and you require somebody who will do a research and then provide solution to armed forces, right? So you require some research wing. Slowly, after, I think we can start, no? It's up? It's fully up, no? Okay. So you feel, okay, there's somebody who can inspect the foreign imported item and then guide the armed forces how to use it. You require an agency which will do some research on the requirements of the armed forces and then provide solution. And further migration of any threats that are going to come, to the armed forces, they will interact with this community of group of people who are doing inspection, who are doing research, and tell these people, can you please develop something and give, I want a night vision goggles. I want night vision goggles. I am not able to buy from a foreign import content. So can you develop the system? Not only research. Research can be, you do research, you solve the problem, you publish papers, and you stop at that point. No, don't stop there. Can you realize a product and give the product? I want a night vision goggles. Can you make and give it to me? You require an organization, right, for that? So inspection, research, development, okay? And then any threats coming in real time, asymmetric. For example, now threats can be, suddenly you would have thought, I'm taking care of my air, I'm taking care of my land, I'm taking care of my waters. Threats can come in the form of nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons. So every day in a dynamic manner, things are coming as a threat, and I want some agency who can research onto that, develop products, deliver, and empower me. This was the requirement of the armed forces. And to satisfy or to support or to empower armed forces, you require an organization like DRDO, similar to DARPA in US. You know, DARPA, which is a defense research organization in US, which is the one who has invented the internet, which we all use in the commercial domain. Similar to that, DRDO was established in 1958. The mandate of DRDO, as per the mandate, you see, to provide advice on the scientific aspects, to carry out the research on the cutting edge technologies, to develop the systems. And now, as I told you, war need not be only with guns or only with airborne systems. Now all our assets are in the form of computer infrastructure. There can be hacking, and one kind of hacking can destroy your whole infrastructure. So now the threat is changing into cyber attacks. So you require cyber security solutions to be researched, developed, and given to armed forces. So that also is added as a mandate. Not only cyber, as I told you, it's a very dynamic thing. There is a space-based threats coming for us. You have a lot of satellites across. Satellites are used for weather forecasting, for communication, for entertainment. Satellites are being targeted. If satellite is targeted, your complete backbone of the country can be destabilized. So this kind of thinking, what armed forces does, and they will dictate the mandate of the DRDO every year. Keep on adding and deleting, adding and deleting. So it's a very live and open organization with lot of requirements from the armed forces itself to empower the nation. Getting my point? So that is basically what I'm trying to tell is, the DRDO is an organization which is like how you have a government to run. For the armed forces to function, you require a scientific wing like DRDO, which will do all these activities. Got it? So this is the mandate of DRDO, and this DRDO has been established 60 years back. 1958 itself is established, and then based on the dynamics of the situation, what kind of threats comes to India, what kind of threats come, the scope is getting enhanced. It's a kind of evergreen organization which will be there. We require youngsters who can think about the solutions, like what kind of future asymmetric threats can come. Right? Nobody predicted cyber threat will come after 20 years. I will work in cyber. But youngsters, you will be watching a lot of movies, foreign movies, you see, they will come in, aliens will come, they will attack, they will bomb you, they will go off. Okay, and then you can see TikTok videos also, they'll come in one suitcase, and then swarms, drones, they will come and they will bomb and go. You see a lot of movies, right? What I'm telling is, all these things are becoming a reality. What you're seeing as entertainment videos are becoming a reality. And then that will reach armed forces, and armed forces will tell DRDO to make a solution and develop a product. So it is not a very far away organization. It's all very near to you all. Only thing is, the orientation is whatever armed forces can think 20 years down the line, the younger generation, you can visualize that and you can think about the solution to that. So, and then you will find a place in either in the armed forces or in the organization like DRDO. Getting the point? So space is one area of science where satellites, rocket launch vehicles, we have a lot of scope. At the same time, DRDO, you have multiple scope. It doesn't stop. Okay, and then we are overwhelmed by seeing the amount of scope the organization is getting to cope up with. So with this introduction, this is the mandate of DRDO. It's evolving actually. Okay, based on the threats, it evolves. Next, we'll go to the evolution of DRDO. As I told you, DRDO was established in 1958, and then at that time with a budget of around 3 crores in 1958. As I told you before, initial activities of DRDO was for inspection of the foreign equipments, whichever the armed forces want to procure. The DRDO scientific community, a small group of people, they were carrying out the inspection, quality checks, whether it meets the requirement or not, and then allowing the delivery of the item to armed forces, and armed forces were using it. Later, we slowly migrated to scientific research based on the requirement of the armed forces, based on the demands of the armed forces. We migrated to scientific research, and then the research led into technology development. We didn't stop at research, publishing paper and leave, because we have a user with us who demanded the product. So we were pushed to realize the technology as a technology demonstrator. That was in 1980s. You can see the launch of integrated guided missile development program and battle tanks. Initially in 1960s, those time, 60 to 80s, the weapon which was very much required was missiles and tanks. In the movies you would have seen, right? You require tanks to go to the enemy country in the land, and then you can establish your superiority, right? So I want to design tanks, I want to develop tanks, and I want to hand over the tanks to army. Army will use the tanks. Okay? Initially we imported from Russia, but later a lab called CVRD in Chennai was recognized as a nodal lab for development of battle tanks, and Arjun tank is one of the famous tanks which has been indigenously realized. So I think 1980s, those times, battle tanks was like a star attraction. That has to be realized. In addition to tanks, you require missile. Armed forces wanted missile. If at all they want to threaten the adversaries, they wanted to show that I have the capability of missiles. The missiles I can launch, and it can come and hit the target. So that was creating a kind of deterrence. To whom? To the adversaries. Adversaries means enemy countries. So they will not attack us, or they will not try to create problems, and they will be in control. So that was the era of 1980s. Slowly, based on the success of missile program and the Arjun tank program, slowly we migrated to air superiority. Okay, now land we have captured. Land, I have tanks. For land threats, I have missiles. What next? There can be a threat from the aircraft. Somebody can come in the aircraft, bomb us and go. So if somebody is airborne from our border, we have to have our own aircraft to take off and then deter him and then send him away, or engage him on the air, like engage somebody on the ground, right? If one gang comes, you will also go one more gang, then the gang will go back, if both are equal. Similarly, the gang comes on the air, you require a fleet of aircraft which can go and engage them, right? So that way the requirement was felt, and then the launch of LCA, light combat aircraft. You would have heard in the newspaper also, no? That Tejas is a fighter aircraft, which the armed forces wanted actually. I want air superiority. Now I am buying foreign fighter aircraft, but at the same time I want indigenous aircraft. Can you design, develop and deliver? With that, for battle tanks, I told you a lab called CVRD was recognized as a nodal lab. Similarly, for aircraft development, fighter aircraft development, a lab called ADA, Aeronautical Development Agency, was established in Bangalore. Okay, their mandate was to design, develop and deliver light combat fighter aircraft. Okay, that was in the year 1990s, and then you require engine for that, fighter aircraft engine. When India didn't have engine of cars, India was not having engine of cars, the mandate for DRDO was to develop fighter aircraft engines. So that's how it all started. And then Similarly, the ground-based threats, they wanted multi-level rocket launchers. You might have seen Pinaka system, or you might have seen in movies. There will be a system where multiple rockets get fired. 10 to 12 rockets get fired from the one single place. That's called multi-level rocket launchers. That was in huge demand. Okay, the country which we are procuring, they stopped giving to us. That also came as a requirement in 2000. So all these systems in 1990, 1995 were developed and prototype were realized. Okay, and then in the 2000, the airborne surveillance. Once you have the fighter aircraft, we need to migrate further, right? You need to see, I want to do a surveillance of the area of concern, and then I want to know a priori who is coming towards me, a priori in the sense early warning kind of thing, so that I have an advantage over taking action. Meaning, suppose in the olden days you have seen there was a fort in a mountain. When the enemy were coming towards me, somebody used to see using binoculars and say somebody is coming. So alert. Everyone used to be alert, so that they can take action against them before they approach you. Okay. So I have an aircraft. I can engage the enemy if somebody is really trying to attack or deter. But who will give me the early warning? Somebody is coming. Who will give the early warning? You require some radars, right? Radar is also a product, defense product. So you initiate development of radars, but the ground-based radars also different types are there. You have a ground-based radar, you have a shipborne radar, you have airborne. If your radar is kept on the airplane, you can see for longer distance. Okay, so if you can see for longer distance, you will get early warning, right? Early warning means even if it's far away, 500 kilometers far away, I can get a warning about, okay, some 5 aircrafts are coming towards me. Then what? They will take around 15 minutes to come towards you. You have a 15 minutes warning. You can task your fighters to engage them. You have 15 minutes time. So you can engage them in their own territory. So with this forethought, armed forces gave a requirement of airborne surveillance system. So I want early warning against airborne threats which are attacking or coming towards India. So that was established as a AWNC in 2000. And 2022, what has happened is, whatever we have developed across, we have gone to the next level. Okay, our requirements are evolving. It will not stop. Now the armed forces want cyber security. They want DRDO to develop a solution which will prevent cyber attacks, hacking, nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare. This is what the armed forces want. At the same time, what all we have developed all along, with collaboration with armed forces, what do we do with that? We can export it, right? We can, like how we were taking from US when we were not, we were trying to develop the things. Similarly, the countries who have not realized all these technologies, we are trying to export whatever we develop to the other countries. So that is the era now. We are trying to add the requirements projected by the armed forces as a work. At the same time, what we have developed all along, we are planning to export it. So for all of this, we require manpower, we require people with a science background, right? With the analytical capability, thinking capability. So that is the way the organization like DRDO has huge amount of requirement, and then it is growing. The requirements are growing, the organization is growing. Okay, and because of this evolution and success stories, there is a lot of hope in the organization DRDO. Only thing is, compared to other organizations which is in public domain, the organization like DRDO, information will not be shared in the public domain. Okay, because of the confidentiality. Okay, wherever you get an opportunity during Aero India show, Indian Science Congress, or your college, they'll be having some talks like this. If you go and really understand what are the requirements and things like that, you all can really contribute in empowering the armed forces. Okay, that's the point I wanted to mention here. So just to give a glimpse of DRDO today, as I told, I come from a lab called Center for Airborne System. That is one lab. Like you have the center, Pellicula Center. This is one center. Like that, in my laboratory, we have around 500 plus people, around 300 scientists and 200 technical group people, technical cadre people. So like this, there are around 42 labs in the country which are working towards empowering the armed forces. Okay, so many organizations are there, 42. For the management point of view, these 42 labs are grouped into around 7 clusters. You see, no? First one, the red one, is the aeronautical sector or aeronautical cluster, a naval system cluster, microelectronic devices, computation systems, electronics and communication, armaments and missiles. These are the 7 clusters grouped under DRDO, and each cluster is having some n number of laboratories. So total making around 42 labs and then 7 to 8, 8, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are 7 cluster DGs. So when you look at the whatever the employment opportunities as well as the amount of growth we have in the organization like DRDO, at any point of time you have 42 lab directors and then 7 cluster DGs, Director General we call. Okay, if you are in top 50, all 50 people will be recognized with the top post in the DRDO organization. Suppose you have a college. In your college, there will be only one principal, right? So DRDO, you have 42 directors. It means you have to be in the top 42. If you are the top 42, you will be one director of one of the lab. Okay. If you are top 8, you will be director of these labs, clusters of lab. You will be a director general. So this is the opportunity that we all youngsters, you all youngsters have. So the growth opportunity, the recognition, generally what happens is for the youngsters, any organization is joined. If there is a recognition in the organization, you will be having willingness to work in the organization, right? So I want to study hard, I want to work. Why you all want to study hard? You get an opportunity in a good organization. The organization should provide you good growth opportunities. It means they have to elevate you to a level of director or a DG. So the organization like DRDO, there's a lot of scope for that. If you are working very hard, you are very sincere, you will definitely be recognized, because coming in one of the 50 is easy, no? Otherwise, had been only one organization. Becoming top 1 is difficult. Here, if you are in top 50, if not in Bangalore, you will be recognized in Hyderabad. If not in Hyderabad, you will be recognized in Delhi. Getting the point? So that's the scope of DRDO, advantage of DRDO, and you all should keep this in mind. So people, even though they say recognition is not a matter for me, the real work, the work output will increase if you are recognized. If I give an award to you, you will try to work more. You will try to book award. No, you put more effort, right? If you can come first rank only, you will feel like I need to study hard. So that kind of recognition system is inbuilt in the DRDO structure. Okay, it is not centralized. It is decentralized. Okay, and then each one can rise to a top post and contribute for development of the country. Okay, this is the point here. And then you see location of labs. After IAS cadre, IAS is the one cadre where every 3 years you will be transferred across India, all the places. A lot of people will have a dream, I want to be an IAS officer so that I can see the whole country. The same opportunity we have in the DRDO also, because the laboratories to meet the requirements of the armed forces are across the country. Amongst all the sectors, Karnataka, especially Bangalore, is having highest number of laboratories and least number of representation from Karnataka. From Karnataka, representation is the number of people from Karnataka are less in the organization, but number of labs are more. Where? In Bangalore. You can see here there are around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus ADA. There are 8 laboratories in Bangalore, and Bangalore is called as Aeronautical Hub of India. Okay, our specialization, Bangalore specialization is we are the Aeronautical Hub of India. Similarly, Hyderabad is called as Missile Hub of India. Okay, so all missile programs you can see here. Hyderabad, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lab in Hyderabad. Okay, because they have a strategic weapons, they are DRDO means, I think now the two sectors are really coming up, either missiles or aerospace. Missiles or aircraft. Missiles or DRDO means, firstly it was only missiles. Now people are remembering, oh, something aerospace. Missiles and aircraft. These two labs, the South Indian labs, Hyderabad, and they are at the topmost. Okay. So amongst that, you have one more laboratory in Mysore, which is Defense Food Research Laboratory. You have ready to eat food, no, MTR, where you can immediately cook the food and eat. That MTR has popularized, and whenever you go to US or wherever, Germany, we take that food and go have it, dip it in water, and then we have it, no? That technology was developed by DFRL, that is a DRDO laboratory, for armed forces, for them to sustain harsh environment in Siachen, Leh, Ladakh, for them to prepare food on their own and then have. Then when they transfer the technology to commercial industry, that became more popular than DFRL. Nobody knows. MTR everyone knows, right? MTR you will know. If you go to foreign ones, you will know. You will carry it with you. Okay, so that's the way. So that lab belongs to Karnataka, and it's in Mysore. I think there is one talk also planned from DFRL associate director here. You will see a lot of interesting products coming out from DFRL. So this is on the South Indian lab. Similarly, you have next highest in Delhi. Most of them as a headquarters. Delhi is a headquarters for DRDO. So most of the management related activities, people are interested in management. No? Suppose somebody is good in management, they also have, because you need to manage this huge manpower. Okay, somebody has to interact with armed forces, interact with government, interact with foreign collaborations, academia. You require a high level of management skills. So somebody tuned towards management, they also have a scope in the Delhi-based laboratories. And then you have lab in Kanpur, even in Tez, Assam. You have in Visakhapatnam. So it will cover, wherever you are from whichever place, you can go and you can fit there. Okay, that's the distribution of labs. Totally around 42 laboratories as on today, and then 7 clusters is what is DRDO strength. Yeah. So then recently, in I think 2020, I was telling you that like youngsters keep joining us, and then they have interaction with youngsters. The people who have joined DRDO already, okay, we have interaction with the youngsters. So they had a point that we youngsters, whatever solution you give them, no, they come out with new ideas. So management decided that, so why not we create a lab specifically for the youngsters with full of ideas, and then let them explore, let them fail, or let them experiment. And what the product the youngsters give are also valuable than what the product the other labs are giving. So that's the value the DRDO is giving to the words of the youngsters, and then based on the feedback from the batch of youngsters who are coming, they were all giving the feedback, sir, we want to be all young people in one, we don't want to be under somebody, all young people want to be like a lab, is what the feedback we got. Based on that, DRDO established as an experiment, okay, as an experiment, 5 laboratories, like I told 42 lab, no, 42 plus 5 laboratories for young scientists less than 35 years. So that in that lab, only 35 and below age people only will be there. If you are above 35, you are sent back to old lab. Okay, you should be young. You should work whole day. But you work with passion, right? As a youngster, you work with passion. So that way, see, these are the areas. First area is the artificial intelligence, because nowadays everywhere, I think engineering background or science background people, everywhere we are trying to incorporate AI, ML, machine based solutions. So can we employ AI solution for all the existing products of DRDO? That is the mandate. So how I can employ AI, and then how I can improve the conditions of the systems, and then asymmetric warfare technology. So I told you one of the requirements from the armed forces was, see, we are all concentrating on one kind of warfare. They will come in aircraft, they will bomb and go. But enemy is not doing that. They are smart, right? They will know if you are ready for it, they will not follow that. They will use the method where you are not ready. Correct? No. If I have to fight with my whoever adversary, I will know his strong points. I know he is ready for it. If I want to take 2 people, if you have 2 people, I will not go with 2 people, right? I will go from the back, or I will use some tactics. So there is a lab which is always in a mode of researching and then envisaging what are the asymmetric way the adversary can trouble the nation and how to defend from that kind of trouble. Correct, no? What are the asymmetric way? One of the example, you have one of the, I think you will be remembering that Kasab attack through the coast guards, in the Bombay waters, no? It was on a small boat. Small boat, people will ignore it. They will come in ship, they will think, if the big ship comes, I will also take a big ship and I will attack him. He will not come in big ship. He will come in a boat like a fisherman, right? And then he will come and do the damage and go for the country, right? So what is the solution for that? Who thought about it? He can come in a boat, somebody can come in a boat, right? And then Pulwama, whatever. You can see all these things, even though with all the technology, all the things are happening. That is the reason what India, Government of India decided was, as well as the armed forces decided was, we need to think continuously about the asymmetric warfare which is going to happen. The threats can come, you cannot imagine how the threats can come. So if that kind of threat can come, how to defend the country, some bunch of people should apply their mind and come out with a solution. Okay, that's the lab which has been created by asymmetric warfare. And similarly, cognitive sensor technology, smart materials, quantum technology, these were all the advanced systems which we required. So a separate lab has been created and they have already developed swarm drones, smart helmet. What you are seeing in your videos, your TikTok videos or whatever videos. So these young guys, they are trying to realize that as a system. Okay, trying to realize, develop the prototype. Maybe 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, that will become a reality, and they will give the ideas. They will join the mother lab, and they develop the system. Okay, so this is one of the. So this was inaugurated in 2020, very recent. I'm just telling you how the youngsters are accommodated in the organization. I'm just mentioning that. Okay. So till now, DRDO, even though we work closely with the armed forces, we have interactions with various organizations. Like we have interactions with the academia. In the sense, suppose we have a requirement from the armed forces, and our mandate is to develop the system, and then we are doing a research, design, and development. And we find for that research, there is a professor in particular college who has done already the work in that particular area. There is a scope, there is a provision for giving a project to that particular academic institution. So they will work closely with us, and then we will take up the solution and develop the products. So that we call as a CARS project. So academia is already interacting with DRDO for various solutions where academia has the strength. But currently that is restricted to IITs now, IITs and little bit of NITs. But as on today, the scheme has changed. It's going to be very open. It means the problem will be put in an open portal. Anybody, any engineering college, the professor has an experience in that particular area, he can participate for that and prove that he is capable of doing that research, and he will get the research contract. Initially, it was only elite institution like IITs only. Okay, but now it has been disseminated to NITs and then other colleges also. Anybody, they have to come, they have to present based on the merit of the case. A contract will be awarded to the college professors, and that professors will use the students like you to work on the solutions. It means, see, either students go to organization come to the students. Okay, so this is one of the thing. Whatever academia, what I'm telling here, you can choose DRDO or DRDO will choose you. But you should have the orientation. You should have the awareness. Oh, Indian Armed Forces requires somebody who need to think, who need to provide solutions, who need to help us in safeguarding the country. That thinking inculcate in your mind and then start thinking on that aspect, DRDO will find you. Okay, that's what the message I wanted to give here. And then there are some think tanks which will guide DRDO, like military doctrines and policy studies. Armed forces are always there, they're always interacting with us. We have gone one step ahead. Initially, Armed Forces was one building in Bangalore, DRDO was like here, Pilikula. We used to go there, interact with them. Now scenario changed. Armed Forces are coming and sitting in our building. Getting my point? The change I'm just telling you. The Armed Forces are coming and sitting with us, and they're working jointly. And we are coming and sit, we were planning to come and sit with colleges and work with them. So that kind of collaboration is going on, okay? And then you have other S&T organizations like Department of Space, Science, CSIR, etc. They also are being roped in. And then private industries. So once we see, PETS is whatever the structure to multiple places. The whatever design and prototype we develop for mass production. Suppose I designed one tank. I proved the tank. I want 100 tanks. I will not do it, no, because I already proven it. I will give to the industry for mass production. I designed night vision goggles. I want 10,000 night vision goggles. What I will do? I will give to the industry, right, for the private industry. They will manufacture in the factory that many number of bulk quantities. So that way the private industries are also roped in under the purview of the DRDO. So working in DRDO is not just being in DRDO in the first go itself. You can be associated with your professors, with your teachers who can take a contract from DRDO. You can work in a private industry who has productionizing the mass bulk orders. You can be with CSIR or Department of Space. You can also be in Armed Forces. You can join Army, Navy, Air Force, right? The opportunities in Army, Navy, Air Force will make you come and sit in DRDO itself. You have to interact with DRDO, right? Because you need to give your requirements to them. Okay? So that way, wherever you are, these are the links where you can be in DRDO. And then yeah, now the areas of work. As I told you, we can visualize what all areas we require. As I told you in the beginning, we require missiles, right? And then under missile, there are different types of missiles. You can have missile which can be fitted in the aircraft, right? You can fit the missile in the aircraft. If somebody is trying to attack our territory, you can destroy the incoming threat by launching a missile from the ground, right? That is one of the idea. So you can have a surface to air missile, but the kill probability will be lesser. It means if you from the ground, if you throw a stone to aircraft, probability of missing is higher, no? He may escape somehow. He may go down like this and he can escape. So what to do? I want to destroy him. You keep on firing multiple missiles. Somehow you will get one stone, 2 stone, 3 stone. Keep on throwing. One stone will hit, but you will be wasting a lot of stones, right? So what is the solution? Okay, you also go near to him and throw stone. You can go near to him, no? How? You also take off aircraft, but you keep the missile in the aircraft, and then you fire from there. So for that, the missile design will change. Your missile is not now like this. It will go and then it will go like this. Aircraft is flying like this. It should go like this also, and then it should search and go and hit the target. So that way, a missile also, it will start with a missile, then it will take multiple shapes. You will have missiles for aircraft attack. You will have missiles for attacking the tanks. Because of me. So there is a cluster, as I told, areas of work is the missile development, which includes development of the missile itself, the whole propulsion system, the navigation system, the whole control system, okay? And then the test range. Even though we develop the missiles, you need to test those missiles, no? Before actually deploying the aircraft. You need to have a test range. It means a test facility where you can test those missiles. So that's the part of missile and strategy system. And coming to the aeronautical system, missile is understandable. Okay, missiles we require. and we require in bulk quantities. We require so many number of missiles, right? So hundreds, thousands of missiles we require. Next is the aeronautical system. One is the ground threats. To do a surveillance of the area of whatever your own borders, you require aircraft which will detect the incoming threats very early. That's called surveillance system. Once I detect the threats, the next phase is you have to go and attack those threats. You require fighter aircraft. We require, right? So that's also part of that. And these aircraft, the very critical part of the aircraft is the engine. Like any of your vehicles you have seen. Other spare parts and all we can do. The critical part is engine. So the engine development is one of the requirements. And then now you have seen the parachutes. Okay, I cleared the airspace. Now I want to go into the enemy area. How will I go? I go by aircraft, transport aircraft. I drop some parachutes. Our own soldiers in parachutes, right? So you require to develop the parachute which can go and somebody hits you, it should not fall down immediately. So all this comes under the area of aeronautical systems. So missiles is one area, aeronautical systems is another area, okay? And all these things, the beginning when I told you, when we call science, DRDO science is product science. It means for us, product is the science, and to realize the product, we decompose the science subjects and then we recompose. In the sense, we don't say science means biology, physics. For us, if you take one single system called radar, it's multidisciplinary. I cannot fit one subject to radar because it requires mechanical engineering, it requires electronics engineering, it requires computer engineering, it requires signal processing, it requires all branches of engineering actually. So for me, radar is one science. So I have to assimilate it from the top down. I am a specialist in physics, I am a specialist in biology, I am a specialist in so and so area. To meet the requirement of a radar, whatever comes in, I need to recompose and give a solution. That kind of thinking is what DRDO requires. Take missile system. It has a propulsion system. It has a navigation system. It is having the thermodynamics, aerodynamics part of it. It has all possible engineering embedded in it. So what is the expectation from the youngster is they should always think in a multi-dimensional, a multidisciplinary manner, like how an entrepreneur thinks. Suppose you are put in a project and you are from a background of, you are from engineering, right? Which branch of engineering? All mixed branch or? All are from information science. Huh? Which one? Mixed, yeah. You are from a mixed thing, yeah. Suppose you are from mechanical. You enter DRDO and you are put in a group called radar. I'm just telling you. You are a mechanical, but you say electronics part, you need a block diagram of radar, electronic part if you leave off, computer science part if you leave off, then you will be an isolated bunch, right? Only when you assimilate electronics, computer science, mechanical, you can understand what is radar. Only when you understand what is radar, you can contribute for design, research, development of radar. So this is the challenge. This is one of the other very important challenge that the students have to shift from decomposed thinking to recompose. In the sense, suppose you are all doing engineering now. You will say first semester 5 subjects, second semester 5 subjects, like that you will study, electronics you will study. Go to GATE examination. There 5 subjects will become one subject, right? All 8 semesters will come in one exam. So you need to assimilate, you will treat one semester as one subject. If you keep on treating one subject as one subject, you cannot really prepare for it. You have to, not only your branch, it will become like your first semester engineering, where workshop, you will go to workshop, you have workshop, right? You have CAD, CAM. So every system, I took it, radar as an example, every system in DRDO is a multidisciplinary system, and people from now on, you have to start thinking like an entrepreneur. You know what entrepreneur does? He is like a all-rounder. If you are the boss of your company, you will say, this I know, this I don't know. You will say, this is my area, you have to sweep the floor, you have to sit in the boss chair also, right? And you have to, whatever, any checks you only have to do, money you only have to arrange, bills you only have to pay, driving you may have to do sometimes. At the same time, coding you have to do, design thinking you have to do. So that is the thing, it's everywhere, even in the IITs, even I did my MTech from IITs, that is the culture that is being followed worldwide. So you follow your discipline, but slowly practice this multidimensional thinking or multidisciplinary thinking, because the systems which you are going to work, the jobs you are going to get are not only your electronics, come only do electronics. No, you will work on multidisciplinary and you will not know head and tail of it. If you don't think that it's okay for me to recompose, even it's a different subject. That kind of aptitude you should have. So an example to you, I had been to Germany for evaluation of one of the radars. So there was one of the instructor who was explaining the things, okay, about radar. His name was some doctor, some foreign name. So he was I am from electronics and signal processing background, so he was very good in tracking, radar tracking. I thought he's very good, sir. You understood the tracking algorithm very nicely. So I just asked him, you are from which stream? I thought electronics or instrumentation or mathematics, by seeing his doctor. He told me, no, I am a doctor by profession. Doctor is not our, he is practicing medicine. He's a doctor, he's practicing general medicine, okay. Even though you are a doctor, you don't have a aversion to come and work on the area of target tracking. Okay, so this was in Germany. So I think the foreign systems what we are trying to take has the ideas of multidisciplinary backgrounds. Even when you are publishing papers, for example, suppose you study the area of biology and then try to incorporate the ideas of biology in electronics. That is called a worthy idea, rather than struggling to come out with a new solution. So what I am telling totally is the requirement not only for DRDO, even the requirement is you have to try to be like an all-rounder. It's always safe. In cricket, I think boys would appreciate, no? You should be a batsman, you should be a bowler, and if you are a keeper, you will become Dhoni, right? And then even if you are a keeper, you should bowl also, right? And you should be a good runner, you should be a good management also, right? So that is not only in cricket, everywhere now. I am telling you as early warning, I am telling, it will be in DRDO, it will be in all your jobs, it will be for entrepreneurs. So try to just think in that terms. And then the second, after missile and aeronautic, you have armaments and combat engineering. See the hierarchy. In the beginning, we wanted guns, we wanted rockets, we wanted bombs, right? That is required, right, to really attack somebody or to really make somebody fearful. So that's still there. So these kind of things are there. But in addition to that, we have combat engineering systems like bridges and launchers. Suppose we try to conquer a territory of the adversaries, we have to build some bridges in a one-day time, so that we can cross that bridge and go to the other side. So this is called as combat systems, which was added later to the armaments. Okay, it means you need to develop bridges, launch vehicles, very fast time, so that our army can take the lead in the battle space. Naval system and materials. Yeah, this is another area. We are all talking about army and air force, right? All along. Army in the sense, all these bombs and all, army area, aircraft, missile and all, air force. India is a peninsula, right? It has 3 sides water. More threat is there where? From water only. So how do you safeguard that? First we should know swimming, correct, no? So that whoever, suppose we are careful of swimming, you have to spend whole of your life inside the ship, okay? It will be tough. So that way, naval systems, which requires ships, lot of sensors and weapons on the ships. Nowadays, ships also have, okay, you are seeing in the movies, it will take off from the ships and it will land in, okay? And then one more thing is, when you go to the water, you should not be visible to the enemy and then go, because he can attack you anytime. So what you have to do, you have to go underwater. So how will you go underwater? Submarines. Now submarines are coming to the picture. If enemy is coming by submarines, you cannot keep quiet. You need to attack him, no? Is coming slowly underwater, what you will do? You need to attack them. So what is the solution? Send a missile. Underwater missile is called as torpedo. The name given to the underwater missile is torpedo. So that design development is, as like aeronautical hub is Bangalore, missile hub is Hyderabad, no? Naval system hub is Kerala and Visakhapatnam. Why? It is near to the coast. Kerala and Visakhapatnam. So Bengalurians or Karnataka are aeronautical people. Hyderabad people are all missile people. Okay, and then battle tanks are from Chennai. Okay, and all this sonar and then naval system are from Kerala. Okay, that's how the division is happening. Okay. Yeah, and then because any systems what we are seeing, every systems, it will have a component of electronics and communication. May it be radars, it may be laser based weapons, it may be communication, optical, electronic warfare. This is my own area. So every system you take now, advanced system means it will have a component of electronic and communication. How many are there electronic communication here? Very few. Yeah, so many. Lot of work. Every lab you will fit in electronic and communication. Everybody will fit in. It's not like that, but more scope for electronic and communication. That's what I wanted to bring out. And then there is something called microelectronic devices and competition systems. Now we are all going for microelectronic mechanical devices, drones, miniaturization, smallest component. So there is a specialized lab for doing that particular thing. And then in addition to that, we have any science background people, BSc, MSc? Yeah, very nice. Now you see this one, there is one cluster called life sciences, which is dealing with, especially you see the topics, nuclear, biological and chemical detection and protection, life support system, nuclear medicine, high altitude agro-animal technology, nutrition and food technologies. Life sciences people, I think DFRL talk is there in subsequent days. They will tell you about the opportunities in Karnataka for the people of science background. In addition to that, the threats what we are getting in the form of nuclear, biological and chemical, there is a lot of work happening in DRDO to counter that threat. Okay, it's asymmetric, right? It's not conventional actually. So how to overcome that production, and then that's happening at this life sciences. So engineering and science, these two background people have a place here. Only thing is they have to have a multidisciplinary mindset, not restricting to their own domains. Then you will make a very good fit, either directly in DRDO or through the private sectors, which are the colleges where you are all working. Okay, that's the point. So these are all some of the pictures, not a video. Video I'll show later, some videos. So I'll just quickly tell about these pictures. So this is one of the air missile, which is called as Akash, and this is supersonic cruise missile. This is from aircraft we are launching this missile. This is air to air. This is called as Astra, and then this is from ground based, and then you have medium range surface to air missile for Navy. So you have to fit all these weapons in various platforms and then through the system and deliver to the user. That is, and then you have the Helena, which is fitted on the helicopter, and then you have Pinaka, rocket launchers. These are all indigenously developed and delivered to the users actually. Those real pictures are this. And then you have quick reaction missile, and you have and then you have another subsonic cruise missile which is nearby. And then there are some new generation missiles coming up, Akash, which are 1,000 kilometers or 2,000 kilometers, which can reach China, to the extreme end of China and all those things. And then recently we have man-portable anti-tank guided missile. Generally for missile, no, you require a vehicle where you need to take a vehicle and then you need to launch all the missiles. There is a recent version of missiles with man-pads, okay, man-portable. And then you have seen the video in the beginning, airborne surveillance systems, right? This is one of the example. This airborne surveillance systems, it's called as Netra, okay, because it's called eye in the sky, okay. The first system, the lab was established in 1991. The first system, when you went for trials, no, it met with an accident. I would like to mention this point to you. In 1999, after 8 years of effort, you have to fly an aircraft with around 1 ton of radar on top of the aircraft. Okay, see the challenge here. This is the aircraft. The aircraft will simply fly. Now you should put a radar sensor on the aircraft and you should fly, and then that radar will radiate the electromagnetic signal. It will hit the target which is around 500 kilometers away, and you will come to know somebody is coming away from me at 500 kilometers. I can take action. So when the experimentation or the technology demonstration was being carried out with the scientists on board, pilots and users, armed forces, air force people on board, it met with an accident. This particular aircraft, older configuration, 1999. 5 years time, again the design was changed, again the learning was done. A project was sanctioned in 2004. I joined 2004, and then in a matter of 10 years, 2014, this system was successfully realized, inducted to Air Force, and Air Force is completely happy with it and then using it. Which means, you see, just 4 years back, a failure, and then 10 years later, we are the 5th country to enter into the group of countries which have successfully developed the airborne surveillance system. That gave us the potential to export now. It means the countries which didn't take up this program, for them, India is the cheaper option because our cost is lesser compared to any other country which is costing for this. So how it happened? It doesn't happen in one go, right? It did happen in one go. There was a failure, and then success came in. Correct, no? Same thing, I just told one example because it's directly related to my particular domain. Same example was followed or happened in the area of missiles also, in the space programs also, as you all know. So now from the manned, see the risk involved. See, we all have to fly in the aircraft to test our systems. And in aircraft, there is no second mistake. You take off. If there is a mistake, recovery is very difficult, right? Only in the movies you see. They will land in the water. You can say, like a hero, you can jump. That's all in the movies, okay? But you youngsters can think, okay, if there's a mistake in the aircraft, how can we really save the life of the scientists, armed forces working there? How can we do that? You all can think about it. And if you find a solution, DRDO will absorb that solution. Armed forces will absorb that solution. Correct, no? So that's one of the areas. That's why what DRDO is doing is, why to go for a manned aircraft? Go for unmanned. Correct, right? How do I reduce the risk? Make it unmanned. Such a huge aircraft, okay, 1 ton of weight. We are not able to fly because that unmanned versions, we don't have such a huge aircraft. Still, the attempts are being made. Like you see this Tapas, no? It is from another lab. They are developing the unmanned air vehicles. A minimum version of that is your drones. You don't drones you have, no? It will fly. Put a camera, it will take. Not radar. Okay, not the big radar. Small radar you can put. It can detect 100 meters, 200 meters, like that. If you want it to carry the weight of 1 ton, 10 tons, what to do? We need to develop unmanned air vehicle, no? So these are all open problems. DRDO is looking for youngsters who can think solution, realize the prototype, and then join them and then deliver this to the armed forces. Okay, this is on the aeronautical system. And then tanks, I told you, this is all CVRD. They have Arjun tank, and then you have bridge laying tank. I told you there are tanks which can go and lay the bridge, and then you have another bridge laying tank of different types. And these are all combat vehicles, all variants of Arjun tanks. This is the bridge which has been laid by the system developed by DRDO. Different types of bridge we have, okay, for if you have water, if you have any land, and then this is short span bridging system. And then the very old and the very beginning, this was the requirement of DRDO. We require artillery. We have seen in the movies, no, in serials and movies. This is the very old one. It has 60-kilometer range. You can put a bomb, it will go to 60 kilometers and then it will hit the target. And then you require these guns. This is multi-level rocket launches, Pinaka system. You have around 8 to 12. One after the other, it will go and hit the target. And then see, you can fit a bomb, okay? And this is called grenades. And you have the practice ammunition and light machine guns. Still, the labs are available. They are doing the production of these particular systems. This for conventional warfare, okay? Conventional warfare. Yeah, you see, these are the radars. There is one lab in Bangalore, okay? It's one of the premier lab of DRDO. It's called as LRDE, which is developing radars, okay? So many radars. You see, this is battlefield surveillance radar. This is weapon locating radar. This is on the vehicle, moving vehicle. This is also ground-based radar. This is on the vehicle. This is on the ship, vehicle, and then ground. Like this, multiple types of radars have been realized. And you see here, this is aircraft. Inside the aircraft, you have radar. Okay, these are very long-range radar. These are all very 1,000-kilometer range radars. Okay, these are all designed, developed, handed over to the armed forces for detecting the threats which is coming in the air. Yeah, and the communication side, you have satellite communication and then software-defined radio and line-of-sight communication. This is for defense communication. It means armed forces, they want communication, right? So they will have their own radios with them. They will not use mobile phones, okay? Because in that area, there will not be towers. There's no Reliance towers. They should have their own communication system. It has to be encrypted. It means whatever you are talking, no? Others should not be able to listen that. If you convert something and others will listen, there's no use of communication, right? So this communication, that's why it's kept only this much here. And I told you sonar. This is a area of Kerala and then the coastal area where they operate the sonar instead of radar, because underwater the absorption of radio frequencies are higher. Okay, underwater the absorption of radio frequencies is more. So we cannot use electromagnetic radar. We have to use the sound waves, ultrasonics and sound waves. That's why sonars are used. Yeah, okay. Right. And then there is a lab which is also developing the microelectronic mechanical devices and microwave components. And then you see the life sciences, I told you, no? Life sciences people from science background. The lab which is developing the oxygen enriched shelter for high altitude, a G suit for the people who are flying in the fighter aircraft. They will have a high G effect. So for the anti-G suit they are developing. And then they are having a telemedicine system. And then they have a parachute, the parachute wear for this one. Okay. Yeah. And then this nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare. This is an asymmetric war which the adversaries can engage with. For that, there are 3 policies. First, you detect, you protect, and decontaminate. So this lab was a secret lab. Okay, the solution for NBC was being done in a very confidential way. So still, it's very active. And then this particular asymmetric warfare is the one area of concern for DRDO. Yeah, I think, yeah. So these are the test infrastructures. One is the weapons, platforms, sensors, technologies, asymmetric, AI, ML, all these things are there. DRDO has developed very unique test facilities, very few country has. For example, you see all these facilities, no? Rail rocket sled, the first one, and then the shore-based test facility, extreme high altitude test laboratory. These are all facility. The uses of that, I think, will take some time. Suppose you have a fighter aircraft, and then if there is any problem in the fighter aircraft, the pilot has to eject from that. Okay, if he ejects at some height, what is the probability of survival? If he ejects while landing, what is the probability of survival? If he ejects when there is a fire on the aircraft, what is the probability of survival? We have to study this before putting that particular ejection system. So for that we require some testing suit, that is this particular rail track rocket sled. Okay. Similarly, when I am designing a aircraft, fighter aircraft, my aircraft should have a stealth capability. It means the aircraft structure should be in such a way enemy should not be able to detect me. Correct? No? If I go and enemy detects me, what will happen? You yourself will do. No? When you want to attack somebody, you will go in a way that enemy cannot detect you. Right? Even leopard will go like that. Tiger will go like that, unnoticed. That's called stealth. So if you want to be a stealth capability, you should first test your system. No? So that's why we have RCS measurement. It means what shape if you make the aircraft, you will fly also, as well as enemy will not be able to detect you. What color it should be, what shape it has to be, what material to be used. For that we have one measurement system, RCS measurement. Likewise, each one is very unique. I just spelled out to you one or two. As a conclusion, no, DRDO has a vision and a mission. It is very evolutionary in nature, and then it is getting added day by day. Because of that, the organization is very active, alive, and dynamic. And then, as an example, what I told you recently was in 2020 January, a young scientist lab has been formed of 5 labs with the people less than 35. So it is not like only after you finish your graduation, only after you finish off your studies or something, I will think about DRDO, I will think about employment. That is not the thing now. Now DRDO is coming to the students, is coming to the colleges in lookout for people is having this kind of multidisciplinary thinking. So I request all the student community to give a serious thought about India's requirement as a armed forces empowerment, and then think about the solutions and be ready when the opportunities comes in. You should be the first person to take that opportunity and contribute. And as I told you, the recognition system is the best in India compared to any other services. The one who joins will stay motivated till he retires and even after that. So with that few glimpses, I would congratulate all of you because you have got the opportunity to listen to DRDO, and then I hope the whole idea of being participative in empowering the armed forces and empowering nation is interesting. It is mutually win-win situation for the organization as well as the students. So I wish you all the best, and then I think I conclude here.